Welcome to News Edge, your sharpest source for daily headlines and deep dives. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay ahead of the curve. On August 2nd, 2025, a strange and unsettling silence falls over American airports. The usual hum of rolling suitcases, the chatter of travelers, and the constant announcements over the loudspeakers are all gone. Instead, there's only the echo of footsteps in vast, empty spaces. It's a scene that feels almost surreal, as if time itself has paused in these places that are normally gateways to the world. Major international terminals, which are typically alive with energy and anticipation, now stand completely still. The bright lights reflect off polished floors, but there are no lines at security, no families reuniting, no business travelers rushing to their gates. The absence of people is striking, and the silence is heavy, almost oppressive. Check-in counters for flights to the Middle East are deserted. The digital departure boards, usually filled with a flurry of destinations and times, now flash a single word over and over: canceled. The crowds that once filled these spaces have vanished, leaving only empty stanchions and idle staff behind the counters, staring at screens with nothing to do. Overnight, an astonishing 320,000 airline seats connecting the United States to Israel have simply disappeared from the schedule. It's a number that's hard to comprehend, a sudden and dramatic halt to the flow of people and commerce between two nations. This is more than a travel disruption. It's a stark sign of global instability, a reminder of how quickly the world can change. This isn't the result of a technical glitch, a labor strike, or even bad weather. Instead, it's a calculated and immediate response to a direct threat, one that has forced airlines, governments, and travelers to act with unprecedented speed and caution. Airlines around the world, from Atlanta to Frankfurt, have coordinated to ground flights bound for Israel. The skies over the region have become a no-fly zone almost overnight. Flight paths that once crisscrossed the globe now abruptly end, and the global network of air travel is suddenly fractured. The empty gates, silent hallways, and motionless walkways are the most visible signs of a much deeper crisis. The freedom of movement that so many of us take for granted has been disrupted in an instant. The ripple effects are felt not just in the airports but in the lives of thousands of people whose plans, hopes, and connections have been put on hold. The scale of this suspension is staggering. It's one of the largest and fastest halts of air travel to a single region in recent memory. Within hours, airlines have canceled flights, airports have cleared out, and the world has been forced to watch and wait, uncertain of what will come next. For passengers and families, the silence is not peaceful. It's filled with anxiety, confusion, and unanswered questions. People check their phones for updates, hoping for news that will allow them to move forward, to reunite with loved ones, or to simply get home. The uncertainty is palpable, and every minute feels like an eternity. It all began with a single explosion, a sudden violent moment that sent shockwaves around the world. News of the blast spread quickly, and within minutes the global aviation industry was on high alert. The decision to ground flights was made in the interest of safety, but it has left millions wondering what the future holds. An act of aggression in the Middle East has, in just a few hours, emptied terminals in cities like New York and Chicago. Luggage sits abandoned, departure halls are vacant, and the interconnectedness of our world feels suddenly fragile. The events of this day are a stark reminder of how quickly our routines can be upended, and how the ripples of conflict can reach even the quietest corners of our daily lives. The global aviation shutdown began with a single, shocking event. A missile attack that sent shockwaves through the entire industry. What was once unthinkable had become reality. A major international airport suddenly thrust into the heart of a conflict. The world watched as the first domino fell, setting off a chain reaction that would disrupt travel on a scale never seen before. In the early hours of the morning, a missile launched by Houthi forces in Yemen streaked across the sky, its trajectory aimed with chilling precision. It struck Holon, a city just south of Tel Aviv, landing alarmingly close to the critical flight paths of Ben Gurion Airport. The explosion was visible from the runways, and the sound echoed through the terminals, leaving no doubt that the threat was real and immediate. This was not a random act of violence or a stray rocket gone astray. It was a deliberate, targeted strike, one that wounded 8 people and sent a clear message. The regional conflict had escalated, and now, international travel itself was under direct threat. The attack transformed what many had considered a distant war into a crisis with global implications, as passengers and airline staff alike grappled with the new reality. Ben Gurion Airport is more than just a transportation hub. It's Israel's primary gateway to the world, a symbol of connection and resilience. Every year, millions of travelers pass through its terminals, making it a vital link not only for Israel but for the entire region. The airport's sudden vulnerability sent ripples of concern through governments, airlines, and travelers everywhere. The Houthis demonstrated a new level of capability, showing they could bypass some of the world's most advanced air defense systems and strike deep inside Israeli territory. This was a wake-up call for security experts and military strategists who now had to contend with the reality that no target was truly out of reach. The attack shattered the long-held perception of safety surrounding Ben Gurion Airport. Suddenly, the idea of airports as neutral, protected spaces was gone. News of the strike spread rapidly, with live broadcasts and social media updates fueling anxiety and uncertainty. The world was forced to take notice as the boundaries between war zones and civilian infrastructure blurred before their eyes. Panic and confusion erupted almost instantly, both on the ground and in the skies above. Passengers scrambled for information, desperate to know if their flights were canceled or if it was safe to remain in the terminal. Airline staff worked tirelessly to calm fears, but the sense of chaos was palpable, as families, tourists, and business travelers all faced the same terrifying uncertainty. For airlines, this was the red line. The safety of passengers and crew could no longer be taken for granted. Pilots and flight attendants reviewed emergency procedures, while airline executives weighed the risks of continuing operations. The calculus had changed overnight. What was once a routine destination was now a potential war zone. The risk of flying into Israel had fundamentally changed. Airlines around the world began to reconsider their routes, with some suspending flights entirely. The skies above Ben Gurion, once filled with the constant movement of arrivals and departures, grew eerily quiet as the world held its breath. The incident blurred the lines between military and civilian targets, with devastating consequences for global travel. The world had entered a new era, one where the safety of international aviation could no longer be assumed, and where every airport, no matter how secure, was potentially at risk. The missile strike threw Ben Gurion Airport into chaos. Air traffic controllers ordered a ground stop, planes were halted, and arrivals circled above, awaiting instructions. An Air India flight en route to Tel Aviv was forced to turn back mid-flight, leaving passengers stranded and confused. On the ground, travelers were told to deplane and faced a lack of information. Even after reopening, the backlog and confusion persisted. International airlines began canceling flights, stranding thousands more. For passengers, it was the start of a long, stressful ordeal, caught in a crisis far beyond their control. The airline industry responded with unprecedented speed and coordination, as news of the escalating crisis spread rapidly across the globe. In control rooms and boardrooms, airline executives and operations teams worked around the clock, monitoring developments and assessing risks. Their top priority was clear: protect passengers, crews, and assets from any potential danger, no matter the cost. Within just a few hours, major European carriers, including Lufthansa, Austrian, Swiss, Air France, and Ryanair, made the difficult decision to suspend all flights to Tel Aviv. Check-in counters stood deserted, and departure boards across Europe lit up with the word "cancelled," signaling the abrupt halt of air travel to Israel. Across the Atlantic, U.S. airlines like Delta and United quickly followed suit, grounding their flights and extending suspensions for several days. Passengers who had planned to travel found themselves stranded as airline staff scrambled to provide updates and assistance. These were not mere delays or reschedulings, but outright cancellations. Airlines made it clear that safety would always come before profits or schedules, even if it meant massive disruptions to their operations. The immediate result was a near-total air blockade. Overnight, an estimated 320,000 airline seats simply vanished from the global market, leaving airports eerily quiet and planes parked in long, silent rows. Israel, once a bustling hub of international travel, suddenly found itself isolated from the rest of the world. Ben Gurion Airport, usually alive with travelers, became a symbol of the country's abrupt disconnection. Airline spokespeople addressed the public, holding press conferences and issuing statements. Their message was unified and unwavering: the safety of passengers and crew is non-negotiable, and every decision was made with this principle in mind. The coordinated response from airlines around the world underscored the seriousness of the threat. CEOs and staff from competing companies stood together, demonstrating solidarity in the face of uncertainty. Airspace over Ben Gurion was now classified as too dangerous for civilian flights. Security teams increased their vigilance, and radar screens that once buzzed with activity now showed only empty skies. From London's Heathrow to New York's JFK, departure lounges and boarding gates sat empty, a stark visual reminder of the new reality facing global travelers. In a matter of hours, the world's vast aviation network, usually a symbol of connection and movement, was abruptly and dramatically severed, leaving millions to wonder when or if normalcy would return. The Houthis escalated the crisis with a chilling public statement. They warned all airlines to cease flights to Israeli airports, threatening further attacks. This was psychological warfare, meant to intimidate and paralyze air travel. Their message: civilian aviation was now a legitimate target. The threat sent shockwaves through global security circles, setting a dangerous precedent. Governments and aviation authorities went on high alert. For airlines, the risk was now explicit and unignorable. The Houthi warning solidified the decision to suspend flights. With a single attack and a public threat, they had ground international air travel to Israel to a halt. The missile's success exposed a critical failure in Israel's advanced air defenses. Despite Iron Dome and US-provided systems, the Houthi missile evaded interception and struck near the airport. This shattered confidence in the security bubble around Israel's infrastructure. Airlines had relied on these defenses. Their failure changed the risk calculus overnight. The breach will trigger urgent reviews of defense technology and strategy. Nations worldwide, dependent on similar systems, are now questioning their reliability. The incident is a wake-up call. Offensive weapons are evolving faster than defenses. Until the shield is proven effective again, airlines will stay away. Ben Gurion Airport staff managed a rapid recovery, reopening runways within an hour. Emergency protocols worked and planes landed safely, preventing gridlock. The airport's operational resilience was clear, but the terminals told a different story. Check-in halls for major carriers were deserted. Boards showed only cancellations. The airport was open, but international business had vanished. The real problem: airlines were unwilling to risk flying there. Ben Gurion was ready, but the planes weren't coming. The empty gates symbolized the deep-seated fear left by the attack. Operational readiness couldn't fix the security crisis keeping airlines away. Behind the headlines, thousands of travelers faced personal crises. Families, business travelers, and tourists saw their plans collapse in an instant. Passengers at airports were told their flights were canceled indefinitely, left stranded with little information. Stories of students, elderly, and separated parents emerged, real people facing real consequences. Many scrambled for hotels or slept on airport floors, unable to find alternative flights. Inside Israel, travelers were trapped as international carriers suspended service. The few remaining flights saw prices soar and seats disappear. The emotional toll was immense, the sense of safety gone. Each empty seat represented a life disrupted by distant conflict. Stranded passengers bore the immediate burden, waiting for the skies to reopen. The future of air travel to Israel is uncertain. Airlines and aviation bodies are in constant risk assessment, demanding credible security improvements before resuming flights. The failure of defense systems has created a crisis of confidence. Without robust new protocols, airlines won't risk flying into a potential war zone. Travelers should expect continued disruption and remain flexible. Any new threat will prolong suspensions and uncertainty. This incident has redrawn the global aviation risk map. Until security is restored, the skies over this historic crossroads will remain empty, a silent testament to a new era of uncertainty.